whenever I'd smoke it, I'd become completely psychotic.
So when I talk to kids, they're using, every day, twice a day. Some kids are smoking all day long.
Marijuana use amongst young people is associated with increased suicidality.
When you're in cannabis-induced psychosis, you don't think you're in psychosis.
They're just losing their soul.
It's going to get worse.
But the data is clear. It's only getting worse.
The most important thing that I've heard from parents, why didn't I know this?
Pull one South Palm 1083, Preble by Willard. How we doing?
Good, you?
Drove a little fast out of that lot,
Yeah,
don't you think?
I know.
What's going on?
A little scared.
Why?
That's all. I don't know.
All right, turn around.
Yep.
You're gonna be under arrest for OUI.
The alcohol was a major problem, but the pot was even more of a problem. So a friend of mine took her own life a little while back, and after I told my mom that I've been attempting too, and all of that, my mom had her come over when I said, no, don't tell her. She came over, and the one thing she said to me was, if I could have done anything to save my baby girl and get her the help she needed, I would have done anything, but now I get to see her sit on my mantle.
I tried to replace the drinking sometimes with smoking weed, but something had flipped in my brain. I don't know what, but I just wasn't processing it the same. And whenever I'd smoke it, I'd become completely psychotic. Sometimes losing touch with reality, and I had some of the most scary experiences I've ever had, ever.
And my school has a population of about 100 kids. I would say out of that 100 kids, 95 of them at least smoke weed on a daily basis. They're dabbing, they're using edibles, and they're using it at concentrates so high that they cannot function.
It turns out that marijuana feeds an opioid use disorder, not the reverse.
In the last year, I had 2 students overdose, and they left us.
The drug is not harmless. The drug is addictive, and the drug affects the brain.
There is this big, thick pipe going across the ceiling of my room, and I decided to set something up to end my life with, and I knew it was gonna work. And I had it all set up, and I was trying to take that final step, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
There is an increasing body of evidence that marijuana use amongst young people is associated with increased suicidality, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, and suicide completions.
Kids just drop, they go away. You don't hear from them, they don't ask for help. They are in a state of depression that's so lengthy and so vivid that they are just gone.
High dose is the rule. High dose has become the norm. And that just magnifies the problem, because this is not the 1970s when it was getting high after school. This is high dose, 30, 50, 100 milligrams of pure THC in orals. In vaping, you're getting pure concentrated THC. And then there are dabs, which is distillate THC. That's often added to marijuana and smoked or vaped.
In one gram, you may have 700, 800 milligrams of THC in a gram of oil. For most people who use it, they're using just a small little bit. That's why they call it a dab, because they're just putting a little dab, and that's all they need.
Okay.
Can it be abused? Absolutely.
But the evidence for marijuana as a medicine is weak. It's thin. A lot of it is self-reports. It is not based on rigorous FDA-style drug approval processes.
And the European data shows that if you're using anything more than 10% THC, you have a 5-fold increased risk of first episode psychosis.
The thoughts were escalating. I thought about stabbing people and then eventually shooting people with a gun. And while all this was going on, I was unfortunately still dabbing.
If we're focusing just on cannabis, we have experienced individuals that I have seen start at 12 and are attacking police officers at 16, 17 years of age, violently, with their sole admission of it started with a joint and now it's rolling into concentrates and incredible amounts of consumption of cannabis, and it's going to get worse.
We are seeing a tsunami of students with mental health crises, ranging from anxiety and depression to suicidal ideation and an increase in cannabis use. So these are students that are having problems with paranoia, they're having problems with reality testing, they're describing kind of bizarre behaviors that they engage in.
I was just like hallucinating faceless people, hearing whispers, becoming really convinced of bizarre things were happening.
It really hurts me, it bothers me, like painfully, to see people do things that are damaging to them, especially when there's not the restrictions in place to help them and they don't know what they're doing, that they think that things are safe.
I consider this a defense of our brains. Certainly not a war on drugs. We just have to defend this beautiful brain of an adolescent child from being derailed. It was a brilliant campaign to convince the world that we need this drug.